Oh, it's glorious. Spring has indeed finally sprung. Had me first shower in the house in 4 months. Yeah. And she went well. There's a little trick I used to use, whereby basically, you obviously don't have a shower in the morning. It sort of uses the thermal mass build-up of the water. Now, basically, when it's nice and warm like it is now, it's only 9:10 or something like that. Even though it's at the back of the house, because of the air temperature, the water in that little tank will warm up. And then there comes a point where it's starting to, the sun's starting to go down sort of thing, and then all of a sudden in the space of 10 minutes it goes from warmish and then you start to feel the cool kick in. That's the time when you go and have a shower, because at that point the water is still warm from the warmth of the day. Sometimes this still doesn't give you great results, but usually the spring's rather quick to kick in here, and it's actually kicked in early this year. It's actually, oh hell, it's damn near come 2 weeks early or something. So as a result, yeah, that's working fine, but I was a bit cautious on it all, and I turned on. It's bloody warm as warm. Having said that though, I used to top that thing up about every 3 days. Now it's dropped to half the size. I'm probably just going to do it every night. And the other thing I noticed is, yes, there is a particular noise. You sort of get this real, sort of a deep, sort of like the whole talking down the pipe sort of noise when it overflows. It does take a little while to overflow. You can hear it running fairly heavily into the tank when the tank's low. As it gets up near the top, the inlet pipe is no longer trickling down. The inlet pipe that fills the tank goes under the water, and it sort of shuts up, and at that point you sort of turn it back to about half or third flow or something like that, and then all of a sudden you'll get to this point where you sort of hear this sort of noise as it overflows and sort of echoes up the pipe from basically where it comes out there, but at the same level as this, and as it drops down it's sort of a real echoey, and it's quite a distinctive sound. So yeah, I'm not going to need to come out here and check it overflowing because of this particular sound. And that's usually what happens, with a lot of these. The other one, it was, you just hear it running into the bucket anyway. But yeah, anyways, I want to talk a little bit about something else. A mob called Uhaul. Now, of course, as you guys probably know, this is a rather large United States corporation. I don't know how they are in the United States, but in the process of all this stuff, I've been thinking about with all the removals and whatnot, and using vans. I'll tell you what, there's some ripper cheap vans going. There's one of these ones that's a Mitsubishi, that's a commonly converted Mitsubishi, 2006 model. It's done, oh hell, it's done not a great deal. I think it's about 120 something thousand kilometres, basically less than 100,000 miles. Japanese built, and readily converted to propane. They run well on propane, because one of my former bosses had one and he ran it for years. And $1,800, I couldn't believe it. And it's a 2006 model. Oh, it's 10 years old, yeah, but it's done less than 100,000 miles. Quite a bit less. It's done like about, oh, what would it be? 87,000 miles or something like that. So yeah, that's a good one. There's another one. There's a Ford Transit, which is, you know, we never had Econo lines here. There's always been Ford Transit. It's a shorter roof one, and it's got it needs a bloody good paint on the rear tow bar. But aside from that, it's a 2003, and you go, shit, that's old. The same thing again. It's done even less kilometres. It's probably only done about 85,000 miles. It's about 120,000 k's flat, 120,000. Yeah, that's, oh gee, that's going about 2,800 or something like that. That's what it's tracking at. Both of these have a couple of days. Well, actually, only about 12 or 14 hours left on the option on them, I think. Or maybe a day, I can't remember. But yeah, good price. You tend to notice this, if you keep your eyes open on occasion, there will be a Ford Transit for which it's very easy to get parts for. They're highly sought after, but more the newer ones, or the super tall roof ones, or the real long, super long wheelbase. They don't call it LWB, they call it SLWB, super long wheelbase. And they tend to go for quite a bit if they're newer. But every now and then you have an old one that's, you know, 2000, 2003, 2002, something like that. And you say it's old, but then it's done a very small amount of mileage. And the parts are easy enough to come by. And for the amount of mileage it's done, it's probably not going to need very many at all to put on the road. One of the strange ones that come along there, I don't know if it was the actual Transit van, is one that actually had a fire suppression system. Like as though it was used to carry flammable, pretty seriously flammable stuff. And yeah, it had a fire suppression system built in. I couldn't really see anything other than maybe one pipe. But if fuel catches a lot, it was designed to put out anything in the cargo bay, which that sort of stuff is going to be rather expensive. Talking to my father about electric brakes and all that. He's been involved in fixing them. His 4x4 has electric brakes system built into it, which apparently is about $700 to get it put on, but when they bought it, it already had it built in. He's explaining to me how you adjust them and how they work inside and all that sort of stuff. But honestly, if you tow less than 750 kilos, which is basically 1,400 and something, maybe 1,430 pounds or something like that, you don't need to have electric brakes. For just about all vehicles will be fine. And let's face it, I've had no brakes at all and towed, oh God, I think I've towed can't remember exactly what the heaviest I've towed is, but I think it's actually been around 1.1 or 1.2 tonne of scrap metal, but quite often around 800 kilos of scrap metal, which, you know, it's only 50 kilos heavy, another 100 pounds heavier, with no problems at all brake-wise, with a trailer that had these bizarre old-style hydraulic brakes. There's where your tow hitch is. You've got your tow hitch. You've got a giant, the tow hitch is not directly connected to the trailer frame. There's a tow hitch and you've got this big blooming shaft, which is all sort of greased up, and a spring that you can't pull out too far and you can't push in too far. But when it does push it, it goes straight onto basically a shaft which pushes a master cylinder, and then you've got normal hydraulic brakes. And that's the trailer I use to cart water with. And so on that, yes, never mind scrap metal, when I cart that water every time, that's 1.5 tons I'm carting with that thing. Probably slightly over, it's probably about 1.7, 1.8 tonne. Yeah, but a lot of newer vehicles and all that, you know, commercial vehicles, vans and stuff like that, they're all around the 750 kilo mark, but mine is sort of because of being the long wheelbase flagship, it's actually a it's actually been fitted with a heavy tow pack on that one. So there's a lot of my vehicle in V8s, a hell of a lot of them. The majority actually are V8s, and a lot of people, well, used to buy them just to tow horse floats because of being such long wheelbase and all heavy duty, and they've got different gearing in the diff, and most of them are V8s, and yeah, that one is geared up to tow 2.3 tonne, and there are commercial vehicles that won't quite tow that. They're commercial vehicles that, you know, some only tow 1,500 tonne, some 2 tonne. There is a couple that tow 3 tonne, and that tows 2.3, so it's above your average van and your smaller light trucks. What my car will tow is a high capacity than them, which is good, you know. People ask, why do you need a big car in the country? Oh, trust me, you need a big car when you're moving sheep, moving friggin' firewood, moving water, moving scrap metal, you know, and then you can, there's other things people move, bags of grain, blah, 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 blah. You know, hell, if you want to load a blooming crushed rock, you can, not that we always do that, but we do always do sheep, firewood, and scrap metal, and not everybody does that, but a lot of people carry around hay, and I've seen some light trucks with flatbed trailers, and holy smoke, these guys around here can stack hay pretty ridiculously tall on some of these light trucks, and flatbed trailers behind them. I've seen some pretty colossal efforts, actually. But as long as it's not more than 4 metres high in the air, well, apparently it's all fine. So anyway, back to Uhaul. I don't know how they treat people in the States, but here they are very badly regarded. And it's surprising how many US companies are badly regarded here, not because of the fact that, well, some of them it's just lefty idiots because they're a US company, but the attitude towards customers is very bad comparative to what we used to, you know, and there's a particular product reviews site that's actually productreviews.com.au, and I sometimes see things on that. I used to actually have an account with that place, but anyway, I looked up, I searched Uhaul reviews, and of course, every time you search something or other reviews, this productreviews.com.au site comes up, and I had a look at this flaming, just typed in Uhaul reviews. The stupid website, I couldn't get it to give me a quote. I don't think it was almost going to try and force me to book it or something. Wasn't too sure, I didn't go any further. And this reviews site come up, and by hell, do they fuck you. One person said that this company doesn't make its money by hiring trailers, it makes its money by having these ridiculous contracts which it then uses to fuck people with. Give you an example. Some guy blew a tyre 3 minutes after hiring the trailer. $655 extra charge. There's an option where you can take it from one point to another point, but if you choose, I want to take it from this point and then come back to this same point, theoretically it's probably going to be cheaper. I don't know. I think it is. But if you say initially that you're going to take it from this gas station / fuel station and then go back to that same one, and then you're running behind time or circumstances change or whatever, and you want to drop it off at another gas station that hires out Uhaul, $2,400 charge, I think it was, or something like that, $2,100 charge just for dropping it off at the wrong gas station. I'm not frickin' joking. If you scratch, someone might be in the process of finding a mouse, I think. If you scratch the side of this thing, or break a tail light or some shit like that, which may be a lot easier than you expect actually. Due to the fact that a lot of them, they got handbrakes that don't work, they've got no jockey wheels, and there's supposed to be some of them that had the brake release mechanism put on. You think it's alright, but then the guts of it has been taken out inside the bloody wheel drum. So then one guy got jammed between the car and the blasted trailer as the bastard rolled forwards and pinned him in there. And so as a result, especially seeing that you don't have a reversing camera on the very back of it and all that, you know, there's a chance you'll scratch the paint going through the gate. Trust me, it's bloody easy enough to do. Especially because most people are hopeless at reversing, whereas I'm quite good at reversing. If you scratch it or break a tail light in the process of trying to verse it in through your gate, I shit you not, you can be liable for $6,500. I fucking shit you not. Now that is, it's like the cost of an entire new trailer over a broken tail light. You know, it's fucking ridiculous. A lot of people say that, you know, the tyres are bald, and as I was saying, no bloody jockey wheel on it, or the brakes are faulty, or some of them it's almost like the axle's been bent, or the rim, like your tyre, not your rubber but your steel framing for your tyre, has been bent because they get driving down the road and they say they vibrate like hell, and that is either the wheel's not pointing direct, well, the wheel's just not pointing straight ahead one way or the other. By hook or by crook, something's bent or something that was never built right to begin with, and that happens with quite a lot of them. And I've sort of got to looking at all that, and the bloody console, like there's somebody who, they keep your credit card numbers. 3 months later, a week before Christmas, they randomly pulled out $559 out of his account. No reason, no damage to the trailer, no nothing like that. They just took it out, he complained, and then they said, okay, we've got to work out what's going on, we'll send the money back to you. A week before Christmas. And he said, I couldn't believe they held me credit card details for 3 months. And he said, and if I hadn't looked at, you know, his online banking, he wouldn't have even known it had happened. But, long story short, they're rogues. Absolute fucking rogues. They have a furniture trailer, which is enclosed. It's funny, you know, it's a real high quality trailer. Because you know what? It's 4 foot tall. And they said, now what the frickin' hell were we going to get in that's 4 foot tall? Like, you slide your couch in, but there's not even enough room for you to do anything except the guy who's carrying it in has got to crawl his way out, or you just got to put the end in and then just push the bloody thing. You don't really want to do that on a checker plate floor, but flat floors you sort of can. But, you know, they said, wouldn't they make it so you could at least get reasonably tall things in? Nah, 4 foot tall enclosed trailer. Somebody else got an enclosed trailer, drove somewhere and it leaked like a fucking sieve, and their mattress got soaking wet. So, you know, they're either got to work out how to dry it, or they're just going to have to throw the mattress out because there's a chance it's going to go mouldy, you know. And this is the thing, you know, if you're going to build an enclosed trailer, can you at least check that it's actually holding the water out? You know, I believe it was actually leaking in the front, and not through the back door where you close it, but actually through the front that's enclosed. It's all supposed to be welded shut. And after painting it, they never had the foresight to go and give it a spray and then check if all the welds are all right. You know, and then if they weren't, put a bit of silicone, at least on the inside, to stop everything from getting wet. You know, but, yeah, absolutely terrible. 18 reviews, and every single one of them put the lowest ranking they could, which is 1 star out of 5. 18 reviews, and they're all shit. Which got me to thinking a little bit further. If I don't really feel like, you know, giving me back a hard time or whatever, I noticed something with a lot of these things. They'll hire you a truck and 1 guy, or a truck and 2 guys. at a certain rate. There's none that just say a truck with driver, but you're going to have to load it yourself. Absolutely none. And it sort of got me to the point of thinking, like I sort of thought to myself, initially when you get a business rolling, you know, the phone probably ain't going to ring that much, so ain't going to have that many interruptions, or, you know, not that many people that go to message bank and have to go back. And let's face it, the trouble with a lot of customers is, if it goes to message bank, they'll just go fuck it and they'll just ring another company, and you'll lose the job. You know, so you want to sort of you want to sort of answer everything that comes through. But in the process of this, you know, it's one of these things you're going to have to go through the hard time initially of sort of trying to work and answer phones at the same time while the customer's getting shitty that you know, answering phones when you're supposed to be loading their furniture. But in this, as things move on, you get a few vans, you get going, the phone's going to be ringing all the bloody time, you know, and just gathering by how things are at work, like the phone just fucking doesn't stop there, you know. Sometimes it's nothing for an hour. Other times, fuck, it's just one call after the other, you know, and I've seen times where it's been 10 or 15 minutes straight, and you can't even ask the boss a question because the phone just fucking keeps going, and they've got people on hold, and it just goes berserk. And especially in the first couple of hours of the day, you know, you get a fair few, but then as the day gets nearer to an end, the phone can go freaking off its nuts sometimes. And I thought to myself, if that's the case, I might be facing that exact thing. I wouldn't be able to do anything except just answer the bloody phone. Here's a thought. Instead of having a van with one man at this cost and a van with two men at this cost, how about I myself go out, you run the business basically through a diary and a bloody cell phone, like most tradespeople do, and just have a slightly lower rate, you know, maybe quite a bit lower rate, where you have you know, a guy with a trailer on a van who's just a driver. You load the van yourself. He may help. He's not obligated to help. You're not paying him to help. But if you want to load the van yourself and do it at a cheaper rate, and the trailer as well, and do it at a cheaper rate than you're going to have, you know, a van with one guy helping load, well, then that gives me the chance to still drive around and still move furniture around, but then nobody's going to crack the shits when I answer the phone non-stop for friggin' 15 minutes in a row, you know. And that's the thing, because you're still able to drive the furniture around regardless of the fact you might be tied up with phone calls, with employees ringing up to say, I've got a flat tyre, what do I do? You know, blah, blah, blah. A lot of calls running around, but you've still moved furniture. They've got the furniture moved at a cheaper rate, but then they ain't going to be shitty when you're on the phone because they didn't actually pay for a guy to be loading furniture. They just paid for somebody to drive the bloody van, you know, and the trailer that's hooked onto it. So that's a bit of a thought that might be an option there, and also it would be a nice way to have a rather relaxing day on occasion, if not every bloody day. Just some of these horror stories you hear. I've looked at other trailers that ain't even as big as the ones I'd be buying, and they're 132 a day to hire. I assume just by the number 132 that includes the 10% GST. Having said that, you know, the ones, if I had ones, they'd be bigger than what these ones were anyway, and I could buy ones bigger than that for about $3,000. They were like a 10 by 6 by 6 or 7 by 6, something like that. And if I'd be getting ones, they'd be like more like bloody 14, 15 foot ones. But yeah, I sort of thought to myself, the other thing is that it's all per the hour, you know, and it's all sort of like, run, we're going to do this, you know, because it's $110 an hour on a Saturday and $100 an hour, you know, in the middle of the week, or 99 anyway, and it's all, go, 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 we're going to do this, we're going to be fast. And they're sort of, now how about if you had a, you know, guy with a van and a trailer on it, and instead of sort of you help and load, those guys, especially if they've, you know, got a few men in the family or whatever, loaded themselves, and you give them a rate that's like just a flat rate for 8 hours, and then another $100 on top of it for 12 hours. And that gives them an entire day. They know they're running on a set rate. So there's so many people, and this is a problem in the industry. If I quote, I'm going to fuck it up. And let's face it, even when my boss quotes, you know, you've had jobs that are going to last for 8 hours to 8.5 hours, and it fucking drags out to 11 hours. You know, I've had ones that are delivering new furniture. Oh, this will take you 4 hours. It took us fucking 6.5. You don't get the extra money when you're quoted for that 6.5 hours. When you're quoted for that 4 hours and it drags to 6.5, we still only get paid for 4 hours. Or that 8 hours that then dragged into friggin' 11 hours. We still only got paid for 8 hours. Flogged their bloody guts out, didn't eat anything the whole damn time. And in case that doesn't, you know, stuff you up, then we got to the point where we're working in the dark. So, you know, I sort of think to myself, like a lot of people like quotes, but quotes will burn you. And I know from previous experience of having a business, I'm fucking useless at giving quotes. That's the one thing I can't do for shit, is give a reasonable quote. Or I'd be way too cheap or way too expensive. I'm fucking hopeless at quotes. Just ridiculously bad at quotes. And it's it's not much better where I work. You know, it sort of never turns out to be right, you know. And then you get the other bullshit, which I've seen too many times, where, and this, like, that one I was saying about that dragged into 11 hours. It went from being quoted 30 boxes, and we turned up and they had fucking 91 boxes. And then they cracked the shit that was going to cost more. And then at the end of the day, their boss said, oh, well, it's not going to cost them any more. So we loaded an extra 61 boxes on for free. Yeah, not part of the quote. And they explained to me how this part worked in that job. It went from 1 double bed to 4 double beds. Where the hell did an extra 3 double beds appear from in the space of a couple of days? How the hell were they not seen? How the hell were they not quoted? You know, there are times where customers will deliberately turn around and quote this, and this, and then they'll just be trying to stuff in all these kids' toys and blankets and fucking couple of boxes and oh, well, TV wouldn't be too heavy, would it? Oh, well, yeah, but, you know, you've strung us out by another half hour with all this other shit, and then we've still got to unload it all, you know, and it's just sort of all these little other excuses come in and bits, and oh, we thought we could do it ourselves, but now we've changed our mind, and it's sort of, there's some of them where some of them are good, but it's about 20-30% are very honest, and the rest not so much. Or you get this other one where it's sort of like this. Well, you've turned up to pick up this, and this, yes, but you got such a big truck and all the back of it's still empty, and so it won't hurt you to throw a whole bunch of other stuff in, because otherwise you're just going to drive around with an empty truck. So while you're here, how about grabbing this, that, fucking blah, 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 blah. We've got all this, we've got all that, we've got shit lying everywhere. Oh, hang on, give us 5 minutes, because we've still got to get this out of the back garage, and then you've got to get it through a gate which is too small, and this and that. But it's only a small thing, but you know, as I said, you're sitting there half an hour later and end up taking another whole shitstorm worth of extra stuff. Just because, oh, your truck's so flaming empty that while you've got this big truck here, we might as well make the best of it and then drag your time out. And we're being paid on a quote basis, and we don't get any more money regardless of the fact it's another half an hour's worth of loading shit up or more. You know, and some of them, they'll fucking milk it. I'll tell you what, the worst milked one I've ever seen, aside from that one where the boxes had a whole stack extra, was one that was actually technically paid for by well, I think the welfare office or some sort of government grant. And this chick, they owned a couple of vans themselves, a couple of people movers. Or at least the parents did. She owned a car herself, and the cars and people mover went around there fucking empty, and she loaded up every last bit of shit she could load to the very last minute. She milked it for the last dollar, even though she's getting it through welfare. And then drove, a parent's people mover around there with fucking nothing in it. That happens a lot. You'll be shocked at how many people drive around there with an empty car after getting you to more or less stack it to the point it's just ridiculous and it's all going to collapse. And you're starting to wonder, shit, maybe I can put this on the floor in the cabin of the truck, and then they drive around there with a fucking station wagon with nothing in it. That happens all the time, But the biggest concern that some people have is when they go by the hourly rate, and they don't know how much it's going to cost. And they don't know if they're going to have the exact right cash for it. And are you going to have change if they don't have the cash, and blah, blah, blah. And they don't want to, in their mind say, oh, it's probably going to cost $300, and it fucking blows out to $700. Because it's like, holy smoke, that's $400 more, And these things sometimes happen, the cost, they don't know how long it's going to, and it all looks great, and we don't have that much shit, and it'll all just be boom. And then when you actually get to trying to lift these massive fucking double fridges and all this sort of shit, then it's like, whoa, and then it's like, you know what, I didn't realise I had so much crap, and nobody does. And then the bill comes and it's, it's time to pay at the end of the job, and it's like, whoa, this is hundreds of dollars more than I expected. People love to have a set price, a quote, or some sort of a set price. But I don't like doing quotes. So it may be a simple case of you get to do whatever you need to do with this thing, and you get 8 hours to do it in. And I go down there, at a set time, and anything between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. start, and then you go for your 8 hours, and then, that's that. Or if it's 12 hours, then it's another. And they don't have to sort of worry because it's going to be a set price. It's going to be stuck in this price. But in that, if they have a number of sons in their 20s who can lug all this shit out, I still get to answer my phone. I still get to take, new job orders, talk to employees, work out any shenanigans, at least via the phone. Like if employees break something, then I can tell them, look, we can come around tomorrow. We can work out, what it's going to cost to fix it, or I'll replace it for you, or whatever. And people want to talk to the boss randomly, sort of thing, customers, to ask very specific questions. Especially if things break. And you'll be there to do that, but you won't have to necessarily really help. And of course I'll probably give suggestions on how to get the couches through a tight door, because I know all the tricks of the trade, but then I'm still there to be able to answer my phone all the time, and they still get their set so many hours. They're 8 hours, and they, as long as they can move as much as I want to move, just so long as it's all done within 8 hours. And maybe then have a set kilometre rate on top of that. If in the process of moving back and forward, a lot of people, they don't move any more than about 10 minutes drive away from their previous home. That is actually exceedingly common. We had one job where it was literally 5 doors down. And when we drove the truck down there, I felt like saying to the dude, you know what, we might as well just walk down there with a trolley and everything on the fucking trolley. We could have walked the couch down there. We didn't even need to load it into the truck. And yeah, sure as eggs, we wrapped it all up and we strapped it all down and we drove 15 metres and then turned the fucking, well, it wasn't 15 metres, probably about 25 metres. It was a ridiculously short trip. And then just turned the key off, and I felt like saying, dude, we might as well just fucking walked all this down here on the trolley, because it would have saved us going up the ramp and back down the ramp, and look how close the fuck it was. But yeah, most people, it'll be within... Oh, look, hell, no more about 3 miles from their original home, and no more than 10 minutes, maybe as much as 15 minutes drive away, and that'll be it, and in that you could set a thing, well, it's a set price for 8 hours, so long as we do no more than 50 kilometres in that day, you know, or 60 or something like that. And any kilometres over that price, we tack on another $3 a kilometre or something like that, $4 a kilometre or whatever, you know, and sort of run it like that. And yeah, that would work very well for me in the process of trying to run a show and all that. It's one of these things I'm going to have to plan how I'm going to lift this thing off the ground. I'm really seriously thinking along the lines of I would like to get a contract of some sort with a shop, so that if I have trouble, you know, getting a lot of furniture moving jobs initially, at least I've still got enough to keep me afloat and keep money in my pocket, where I deliver such and such 3 days a week, you know, like they've got with the furniture place where they've got the contract to deliver all the new furniture. Some sort of contract like that with another shop, with another business, or some such thing like that, a subcontracting sort of a basis, so that I've got that to fall back on in case it takes a while to start getting, you know, stuff rolling. And I would like to have something, you know, like that to sort of start with, just so that I know that I'm not going to go all out and start, you know, living off savings and go off welfare and all that, and then try and make a go of it all, and it all just fucking stalls. To be on welfare and have a business is fucking nearly impossible. It's just so ridiculously complicated that you mightn't even be eligible to get welfare in the first place, purely because the value of the bloody vans that you own. I'm not joking, you know, because then it's like as though, well, you should sell a van and then you can live off the money you've made selling that van. This is the sort of shit they're going to put you through if you try and go on welfare while you have a business at the same time. It's so close to impossible that unless you're renting that bloody van, it's almost impossible, and the trailer, it's almost impossible to even make it fly. You know, it's sort of almost like the only business you can have and still be on welfare is piecework. I'm not joking. That's about it. And yeah, so unless you have the bloody company in your mum's name, it's really damn near impossible. You've just got to fly solo, and it's got to bloody work. So that's why I'd like to have subcontracting of something as a fallback, because if you just go out flying solo with the brakes off and then you don't make as many sales as you think you're going to make, then you're fucked, and then you've got to sell everything that you all the equipment you bought before you're even eligible for welfare, and you'll be selling it for fucking rock bottom prices, auction prices, you know, after spending a couple of grand fixing this bloody van up or whatever. And so we're going to have to work out something like that, some sort of a contract or subcontract thing with another business to initially get it off the ground. Otherwise, we're running too big a risk when we start it all. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. I noticed that at work, I sent a little thing that said on the whiteboard, sell, and it had that truck with the chassis problems and all that. And I think it also had written underneath there, that old piece of fucking shit truck that we're in that I showed you guys. It's an absolute rust bucket with no seat belts and all that crap. Quite honestly, it's not even bloody roadworthy. It's not even road legal. There's no, if a cop saw that, it'd be on for fucking young and old. And I don't know, maybe that's why he's selling the thing. Maybe somebody did turn up and put the defective vehicle sticker on the damn thing. And you drive this thing around the edge of the Capitol. I've seen cars there that are better than the vehicles driving around here. I've seen cars in the Capitol with a defective vehicle stuck on it that are better than most of the ones driving around here. So they're very fussy in the Capitol about your vehicles. And I think, I'm not too certain, but that truck might have, I don't think he would take it off the road without a good reason, and I think he might have had the magic confrontation with the police, and that might have been why that one's getting sold as well. But if shit isn't rolling before too long, I'm going to have to ask them in a few weeks, look, what is going on? Are you getting another truck? Am I going to have work coming in? Or, because I hear about them knocking back, flaming, you know, double booking things and all this sort of stuff, and I'm thinking, hey, you know, like, don't push back orders if you've, all it's going to take is buying another truck or leasing a fucking truck. You can't even lease them, so I find out here now. You've got to get them under finance, and you can't rent trucks for any more than about a few days or whatever at an astronomical cost, and you can't lease them. The whole lot are under finance, which sort of shits me. I was hoping to lease a van if need be, if I had any busier times, where I could go out and lease a van, or lease it for 6 months. You've got a brand new vehicle, it's got no problems, it's got all the fucking things in it, with the cargo barriers, all that shit you could dream of and that you want, it's got built into it. And, you know, all the luxury bits and pieces, the Bluetooth streaming, frickin' radio, all the fandangles, you know, play MP3s off a USB chip and off a USB stick and all this stuff. You know, and then just pay your set amount a week and lease it for 6 months, and, you know, if you don't want to lease it after that 6 months, you don't have to. But no, they don't have those deals over here, unlike I thought they used to, but apparently no, they don't have that. And unlike the States, where leased vehicles are common, and they're just not, when you're buying it under finance to own the bloody thing, or then trade it in later. But essentially, you know, it's not a lease, which I would have liked the option to be able to lease new vans that you know ain't going to fucking shit themselves on the side of the road, and if they do, they're completely under warranty anyway, and work out, you know, what sort of a rate I'd be paying for that if it was, you know, $140 a week or something like that. But yeah, anyways, that's the latest run of thoughts, and one of the other things that I'm very good at is, like I said, I can't quote for shit, but I can have like a cut-off. I can, and I've only done it once, but I can do it. I've tended to notice I can do it very well. I can predict how long we can load a van. If you've only got 4 hours or 5 hours that you can afford, I know exactly how long that we can keep loading that van up until, or that truck up, until, okay, that's enough stuff. Now we've got to drive there and we've got to unload it, because it's literally half the time to unload as it is to load. And if you've got an idea of the distance, then you can sort of calculate that in, and I can literally say, okay, we've only got so many hours to load, and that's going to be it. And whatever you can't fit in at that point in time, time has run out. It's going to take us 20 minutes to drive there, 10 minutes to drive there, and then we unload it in half the time. And, you know, you might be going helter-skelter at the end, but it ain't going to, I wouldn't stuff the time up any more than about 10 minutes, I reckon, which means that's something I could definitely have as an option as well, which is where I just sort of say, if you've got a maximum amount of time, you get your big important stuff on, and then whatever else after that, and then okay, this is a cut-off point, and that's bang, and then they can work to, I can only afford 4 hours, it's going to cost $400, so then we'll work exactly to that time, because I'm quite good at knowing, at estimating how long it's all going to take to unload, based on, you know, knowing how long it takes to unload stuff versus how long it takes to load that same stuff up. And it's always about double the time to load it as it is to unload it. Anyways, you got to give these customers options, especially if they're a bit toey, which they all do seem to be, about saying, well, you know, we're just going to run by hour, and we really are just stab in the dark to know if it's going to go from $300 to bloody, you know, $600-700, and people just don't like that uncertainty. So you've got to work out different ways and means to assure them with a gut assure and you know, let them know that they're going to not go over budget